We're now moving on to Monica, and as I said before, she works and is head of department, not only as it says in the program for contemporary creation, but also the international program. And one of the persons who's been very close to this project. So Monica, would you take over and perhaps also have your perspective on how do you see the current agendas for the ministry and what are your current strategies for coping and for managing the many variables which we are all aware of in society at the moment?
Kalimera σε όλους. Good morning to everyone. Thank you, Trevor, for everything. Thank you for inviting me in this very important event. Well, I don't know if they can show my my PowerPoint. My PowerPoint should be shown by the technicians there. Okay, good. That's much better now. Okay, so my name is Monica Tsiliberdi, and I work for the Greek Ministry of Culture as the head of the Directorate for the Development of Contemporary Creation, which sounds very ambitious, I'm afraid. We're trying our best. What I'm going to talk about is mainly about contemporary creation and artistic practice in urban context. I'm not going to talk about city branding or cultural heritage. But this thematic, culture and urbanism, is a main thematic in our policies, let's say. But first, let's see the framework. Next, please. Well, lots of things have changed the last two centuries. During the 19th century, only 2% of the global population used to live in the cities and towns. Now, in the early 21st century, half of the global population lives in cities and towns, and it's expected to be 70% in 2015. So you can understand that everything has changed. Our life has changed. Our living has changed. The way of thinking has changed. The way of perceiving culture and its role has changed. So we have to adjust to all these changes. That's the main challenge for everybody. Even people have changed the last two centuries. Next, please. So now we have new narratives. We're making cultural policies through these narratives, through these cultural policies that now recognize culture as an enabler, they recognize the important role that culture plays to everyday society, especially in an urban environment. Because of the thinking has changed, the way of perceiving culture and its role has changed. Culture became an inseparable part of the urban environment in every aspect, social, economic, environmental, etc. We started talking about creative cities, districts, clusters, milieu, creative enterprises, creative class. It's been a long way since the agricultural age. Now we're in the digital age, so everything has changed. Next, please. Some cities authorities made policies in order to attract all these artists, all cultural professionals, in order to upgrade specific areas. Some succeeded, some not. Anyway, it's a long discussion. It's not for the time being. Next, please. I would like to make a special reference to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It's quite crucial for everybody for making policies and policies for the urban environment. It's really, it was revolutionary on its goals, recognized the importance of culture as an enabler for urban development. There are 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, as we say it. Especially the SDG 11 on sustainable cities is extremely important for the role of culture. Next, please. Here you can see all the goals. Do you use culture anywhere? No. From my point of view, that was quite disappointing. I know culture is included in most of the goals, but it's nowhere there clear, loud and clear to say the importance of culture. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about 11 SDG, which is Sustainable Cities and Communities. And culture is among the first priorities, and it's really the importance of culture for the sustainable cities is recognized for everybody. Next, please. So it's widely recognized that culture is an enabler for economy, society, and environment. The cultural and creative industries are among the fastest growing in the world. Intercultural dialogue and respect for cultural diversity, it's a priority nowadays, and are powerful tools for these nowadays societies. Intangible cultural heritage represents a source of resilience and knowledge, and it's a key for all the challenges we have in today's environment. Next, please. So the bottom line is, development cannot be sustainable without culture, in an urban environment or not. Next, please. But there is a need for a fresh notion of sustainable urban prosperity in this transformative age. The approach should be holistic, people-centered, sustainable, and socially and culturally inclusive. Next, please. See, here you can see that culture is the key of the wheel of urban prosperity in every aspect. When I'm talking about every aspect, I'm talking about, for example, productivity, because culture contributes to economic growth, generates income, provides decent jobs and equal opportunities. For infrastructure development, culture provides adequate infrastructure in order to enhance mobility, productivity, and connectivity. Quality of life. Culture enhances of the use of public space in order to increase community cohesion, civic identity, etc. Equity and social inclusion culture ensures the equitable distribution and redistribution of the benefits of a prosperous city, reduces incidence of poverty and slums. And finally, environmental sustainability. Culture values the protection of the urban environment while ensuring growth. Next, please. So now we have new cultural trends for the cities. Trends and cultural policies that are reflected in cultural policies that are designed from cities, regions, and neighborhoods, from organizations. They recognize the role of culture for all the needs. And that's extremely, extremely important. I'm personally, I believe in grassroots initiatives. I think that they're much more effective than cultural policy, central cultural policy. Next, please. Now we can see where does the Greek Ministry of Culture stand in this framework? Next, please. Well, I'm not going to talk about a strategic plan of the ministry, or maybe some of you could say the lack of it. But I can assure you that the keywords, these keywords are in our everyday vocabulary, in our everyday practice. Urbanism, cultural and creative industries, economy, evidence-based policies, mappings, innovation, resilience, social inclusion, accessibility, gig economy. We're trying to do the best. We're trying to enhance initiatives in co-working, clusters, incubators, etc. Crossovers are extremely important for us in synergies. Capacity or skill building, the status of the artist. It's really important in an urban environment, especially nowadays with the precarious working and living conditions that become very, very clear to everyone now because of the pandemic crisis. Digitalization, ODS development, residencies, mobility of the artists, access to finance, and the list goes on. Next, please. So here is also Vasilis Avdikos. We conducted a study a few years ago. It needs to be updated. I hope we can do it that soon. It's an absolute necessity. Here you can see the dynamics of the Greek culture and creative sector. What I want to show you here is how many employees and how many enterprises are involved from the cultural and creative sector. And next, please. And if you compare it to other selected sectors, such as constructions or food and beverage activities, we can see how important, it's the fourth one, how important the creative and cultural industries are for the economy of this country. It's not always recognized. We're trying our best to make it clear to everybody. Next, please. Here you can see loud and clear how the creative sector is extremely concentrated in major cities. Actually, not in major cities, actually in Athens. Here is the vast majority of employees and enterprises and the GVA gross value added. It's here, it's mainly here. The second one is Central Macedonia, where Thessalonica is, but it's comparing to Athens, it's rather small, the percentage. Next, please. This being said, let's see now some examples of the ministry contribution in an urban environment. I'm gonna show you some examples. Next, please. The last few years, we participated in the creation of major cultural landmarks in the city. I just want to mention some really emblematic, such as Niarchos Cultural Center, where the GNO, the National Opera is there, or the Public Library is there. Next, please. The National Museum of Contemporary Art. Next, please. Or Acropole Palace, which we expect that soon is going to operate as a creative hub, and it's going to be really important. It's situated in the center of Athens, and our ambition is to become a third place of meeting, and having capacity building and other things, a meeting point for the artists and cultural professionals in the city. Next, please. We focus on vulnerable groups that are situated in the city, such as that they don't have access on cultural events, like the elderly. Next, please. Roma communities. Next, please. You can go. Next. For hospitals, for prisoners. Next. For ex-drug users. Continue. For the unemployed, Momus is very doing lots of things there. Next, please. For refugees and immigrants, we're focusing on artistic practice in urban environment, in urban context. This is the most important thing for us. Next, please. Our main aim is the urban regeneration through creative synergies in every corner of the city for all the people, all-inclusive programs, and we try to enhance and support as much as we can grassroots initiatives, except what the ministry is doing by its arms and legs organizations. Next, please. Well, at this point, especially for the Greek viewers, but not only for them, I have to pinpoint our call for proposals we're having each and every year in specific areas. This year we had, now I'm talking about 11, there were 12. I'm going to show you the 12th in a while. And also we had extra calls for the pandemic crisis. But through 2020, through the registry of the artistic groups of the Hellenic Ministry for Culture and Sports, we gave subsidies to more than 500 non-profit cultural organizations. Mentioned here about 6.5 million euros. Actually, it's far more than that. If we add the the call for digital projects, it's near 8 million euros. That's not counting the what we have given for the pandemic crisis to artists and cultural professionals. But I'm mentioning that because 337 of these projects will be launched or were launched across Attica region and specifically in Athens. So what we're talking about, the main cultural activity is in Athens. I'm talking about 337 projects in Athens, but even from the 500 non-for-profit cultural organizations, most of them, they are from Athens, even if they do things in other cities. Or next, please. I'm gonna apologize from the non-speaking Greek viewers. I just made them yesterday, so they're not official yet, so don't use them. It's for each and every one of the calls we had, the regions that were distributed in. The only thing you have to notice is that the high bars are in Athens. You can see it's amazing. It's for each and every call. We had Athenian projects, actually. Next, please. Even you can see, I mean, it's incredible for theater, for example, for theater, 120, that is the last chart, 129 proposals and that were financed are from Athens. So everything is here, everything is in Athens. Next, please. Here you can see some other, for visual arts and for dance or whatever. It's the high bars you're noticing. Next, please. And here you can see the call we had for the digital culture. The vast majority, it had 340 proposals, 200, more than 200 from them were from for Athens. So that says something, even if it's digital culture can go elsewhere, but it was situated in Athens. Next, please. I'm just saying for the Greek viewers, soon we're going to announce the calls for the next period in a couple of months, so be ready. We're going to be ready real soon. Next, please. Well, I can't help it not to mention anything about the pandemic crisis and how it affected arts and artists and cultural professionals. We are trying our best, and we're still trying to do whatever we can do. It affected millions of people. It affected lots of professionals, thousands of professionals. We're going to have allocated lots of money there. There are difficulties in distributing them with the right channels, but I hope we're going to find our way. Next, please. And here's the conclusion. In an urban society, the pandemic crisis was even worse. But now it's the time has come to strengthen and update the public sector. It's absolutely essential to do so. Good administration is essential, not only in times of crisis, but every time. Just the pandemic crisis saw our weaknesses more clearly, especially talking about the urban societies. So good administration has a substantial role to play. and good government matters. But what I'm saying is bureaucracy is not everything. Lots of people hate it. I hate it personally. But yet little can happen without bureaucracy. And its performance needs to be reviewed and improved. Next, please. Thank you for your attention. Have a nice day.